Hello everyone and everything, and welcome back to more Hollow Knight. In the last episode, we took our first few tentative steps into the kingdom of Hollownest. And in this episode, let's take a few tentative more as we head upwards. Let's see what's over this way first, shall we? Ooh, this enemy, he's gonna actually be kinda smart. He did not look smart, but he's got a shield, and he can actually block some of our hits. From above as well, if he, no, actually, yes, from above. Yeah, there we go. But he can only attack us from straight on, so if we use our trusty nail pogo as ever, we'll be just fine. Ooh, now here's a struggle here. I'm gonna take this thing out first before it spawns 1,000 enemies for me to deal with. They don't even have money! Once again, babies don't have jobs. Get out of here. Okay, that's plenty. We're gonna hike our way back up there to that really treacherous looking... Wait a minute. Hang on. I'm not gonna... I'll be right back. In the last episode, I bought myself a charm that I couldn't recommend enough, but I didn't equip it. You can see that charms have different prices, so to speak, or costs, I guess, is the phrase they would use. The Fury of the Fallen is 2, the Gather Storm is only 1, and we only have 3 notches total. So we're already full up. So we better either find free charms or some way to expand that. Now the Gather Swarm is these really adorable little fireflies that will just pick up any money on the screen and carry it directly to you. And they're so cute and efficient, and I love them, and I cannot get enough of them. Every single, like, tiny bug in this game, just, I love it so much. And I don't have, like, super high fondness for bugs in real life. Like, I think a cute bumblebee is something that, like, it can be appreciated, but even that, I would stay away from it. But these ones, they're just adorable. Little hand-drawn stylization. Like I said, it can't be said enough. This game is gorgeous. I love its art style so much. The little platforming challenge with those spikes poses no threat to us. And if we beat these guys into submission... Oh, nice. Okay, wait, not nice. Spawn more bugs. Get out of here, bugs. You're cute, but you have money. I guess those... I have no excuse, actually. Since they don't have money and they're cute, I'm just killing them because I'm a psychopath, apparently. If we head over this way, we'll find... something certainly interesting. A door with an open slot. Not sure... but we definitely don't have something that fits that slot. That's for dang sure. Head on down this way. And we'll work our way to another interesting room here. With a grub up there, buddy! I'm coming! I'm coming for you! This may look impossible. Or maybe you've already caught on that the nail pogo is our way of life. Yes, indeed, sir. Cannot get enough of those grubs. They are just... I'm going to just devolve into cute-addled... I don't even know the word. Something. That's the word, yeah? Something. So that's down where we fought the Gruz Mother. We're filling in this map rather well here. Now let's head on upwards. I want to draw attention to all of the details. It's just so satisfying to just slash your way through all these things. It doesn't do anything. It accomplishes absolutely nothing. But I just love watching, like, these little spires go flying away. Now, we found something sort of familiar to us here. We found ourselves in that cage when we first wandered in. Now we've linked around this entire circle. Very satisfying when a world sort of comes together. If we head over this way, we'll find a super dark passage. And we can wander our way through it, but there's absolutely nothing that we can do in it for the moment. Looks like we'll have to come back with yet more stuff. All these classic Metroidvania feelings of, ooh, I don't have that yet. Oop, yikes. Now, if we stand right around here, we may hear something. If you've been paying attention, you'll know that's the sound of a very sad grub, but we can't see one. But this little indent on the wall may raise suspicion. Ah! Okay. How dare you hold this thing hostage? And we've gotten ourselves a tiny little bunch of those. But now it's time for the real deal. We found ourselves another one of these super threatening menaces here. But as before, just ouch. Ignore that. As before, just jump away after every slice, and there's absolutely nothing he can do. Done with him. He gives tons of money, 45 geo every time you beat one of those. And I'll mention right now, they respawn every time you go onto a bench. If you want to farm money for anything above, that is how to do it right there. And that's about all that's here for this room. Let's head onwards to the next. Ooh, they're combining the jumpy guys and the not jumpy guys. Everything gets harder just a little bit. And in this room we have yet more gates blocking our way. And there's something shiny in a chest over there. Ah! Curse whoever parts me from my treasure. Must have more money. That's just what this is devolving into. It's just must have more money. Now this looks threatening. Away with you, fiends! Now I recognize a boss room when I see one. We have yet another one in our path. Welcome, the False Knight. The False Knight. This gargantuan foe is essentially the boss of the Forgotten Crossroads, and stands as gatekeeper to the rest of the game. To beat him, we'll need agility, skill, and... actually, it's not gonna take that much. This guy is slow. On average, each of his attacks has over a full second of wind-up animation, so just play this one safe and you'll be just fine. Before we break down the attacks though, we gotta talk about his HP, because it's unique among every enemy in the game. Our goal is to damage his armored shell enough that we stagger him, causing him to expose his soft squishy head. The head itself has 160 health, and each time we expose it, we're only able to do 40 damage maximum before he withdraws it back into his shell. In order to stagger him, we need to deplete the HP of the shell, which has 65 health. This is only true for the first 3 times, however. On the 4th, we won't need to attack the armor. So in total, that means we need to do 355 damage, or land 71 attacks. That sounds like a lot, but when his weak point is exposed, he's completely harmless and unmoving. So essentially, in terms of the actual fight, we only need to deal 195 damage, which is far more manageable. This is also the first fight where we have phases. Phases are essentially a boss's way of becoming more dangerous as the fight goes on, sometimes adding new attacks or improving on old ones. The False Knight advances to a new phase each time you successfully do 40 damage to his head, but we'll get into the actual differences between phases as we delve into the attacks. Speaking of which, this big bruiser has 4 to contend with. The Heavy Bash, the Crashin' Bash, the Jumbo Jump, and the Tantrum Slam. The Heavy Bash is fairly simple. After rearing his mace overhead for about 70 frames, he will slam it forward, creating a shockwave that travels all the way across the screen. Dodging this attack in close quarters is impossible. There are no blind spots. You absolutely have to move out of the mace's range once you see him bring it overhead. From there, it's a simple matter of jumping over the shockwave. In phases 2 and 3, this attack is accompanied by some dangerous falling barrels. These barrels are a staple of this fight, and will fall as a result of many different attacks. We can, however, redirect them with a well-placed slash of our nail. If they're falling in an inconvenient area and you just need to keep yourself from taking damage, you can swipe upwards and knock them back up into the ceiling. Apparently the knight is strong enough that when we do this, they never come back down. However, a little bit of a riskier maneuver is to knock them into the False Knight. We're well rewarded for this, as each one actually does 10 damage, double that of our current nail. Don't sweat it if this feels too risky though. We'll get through the fight just fine regardless. Also note that the barrels don't damage False Knight unless we specifically hit them first. Ones that just fall onto his head don't bother him. His second attack is the Crash and Bash. Leaping forward with his mace overhead, the False Knight targets the position we were in when he left the ground. This jump can only move forwards, however, so if the knight is too close to him, then he will instead target the closest area of ground that he can reach without jumping backwards. I'll go ahead and say that this attack is easier to avoid by stepping backwards, but this is more dangerous in the long run. You really don't want to get backed into a corner against the False Knight. The much better option in the long run is to dodge underneath him. As long as you're relatively close to him, the angle of his jump will give you plenty of space to clear the gap and wind up safely behind him when he lands. However, because this attack has a limited range, if you're too far away from him when he starts his jump, then he'll fall short of your initial position, causing you to wind up directly underneath him when you move forwards. Incidentally, if you are really far away from him, he will start this attack off with a short run to close the distance. As long as you start moving towards him as soon as you see that run animation, you'll always end up safely behind him once again. This attack also causes barrels to fall in the third phase of the fight. The Jumbo Jump is something that may be considered more of a behavior than an attack, but let's not get too semantic. Well, at least not yet, anyway. Look out for the differences in this jump animation and that of the Crash and Bash, and see how he holds the mace closer to his chest as opposed to overhead. This is the best way to tell which of these two maneuvers he's doing. That, and he can actually move backwards with the Jumbo Jump. If he jumps backwards, then you already know he's not going to swing his mace as he lands, making it safe to pursue him. The area that he targets can either be the point that the knight is currently standing, or the point directly behind him. This can make trying to dodge by running away a little bit unreliable, so once again, it's much safer to advance forwards and pass safely underneath him. This attack does change a little in each phase, but it does so in a way that makes it more predictable with each change. In Phase 2, he will begin following up every single backwards jump with a heavy bash. Since you'll know his move before he makes it, you'll have even more time to react than before. In Phase 3, he'll only ever use the backwards variety of the jump, and just like in Phase 2, always follow it up with a heavy bash. This is a pretty rare instance of a boss becoming easier in their later phases. His final attack is the Tantrum Slam. He'll do this attack every time he moves to the next phase, and not in any other situation. So the only time you have to worry about it is immediately after striking his weak point. He'll begin by jumping to the center of the arena, then slamming his mace repeatedly to either side as barrels fall constantly from the ceiling. Don't even bother trying to get in a hit between the slams. The window is just too tight for our current movement speed. Instead, just keep to one side of the room and avoid the barrels. If you're itching to deal some damage, don't forget that you can knock these barrels into him, which can give you a big head start on the next phase. Each one knocks off about 15% of the health of his armor. And that's all in his bag of tricks. The game plan here is simple. Stay right up in his business and don't give him time to breathe. The closer you are, the easier it is to dodge his jumps and pass underneath him. This puts you in the perfect position to start wailing on him again. Just remember to always move forward every time you see him jump. This will spare you the need to notice the minute differences in his jumping animations, because no matter which jump he does, the space directly behind where he started is always safe. The only exception is when you get him backed into a corner, and he doesn't have enough room behind him for you to stand. This is the only situation where you should retreat and let him come to you. I recommend running as far as possible so that he initializes the Crash and Bash accompanied by a run. From there, you can start the process all over again. Remember to watch out for his heavy bash attack. Back up far enough so that he can finish his attack before getting back in. And above all, do not, under any circumstances, nail pogo. You do not have time to react to his jumps while you're up there. For once, we're just gonna stay on the ground. One interesting consequence of the unconventional way that his health works is that attacking his armor does not provide us with any soul to use for healing, since it's technically an inanimate object. We'll make up for this with the soul that we get from attacking his weak point though, since we get 8 free hits on it whenever he goes down. Each hit fills our meter by exactly 1/9, so 8 hits is enough for 2 heals. As for when to heal, the False Knight is pretty slow, but he's still too dangerous in most situations. However, when you stagger him, he stays down for more than 8 full seconds, and it only takes a little under 3 seconds to land all 8 possible hits on him. You have more than enough time to heal off a mask or 2 and still get your hits in. I should mention that if you don't get all 40 damage in before he stands up, the armor's health will be restored, but the weak point will not. You'll have to make it through the previous phase again, and when his weak point is exposed, you'll only be able to reduce his health to the next product of 40. And that's almost everything. But this boss has something of a secret to it. Let's say you're just struggling with this boss and want to save it until you've gotten some more power-ups. Well, it's hidden, but that is an option. Above the gate on this left wall, you can see some wooden reinforcement. After the False Knight performs his Tantrum Slam attack for the first time, that reinforcement will be dislodged, revealing a crumbling wall beneath. Break that wall with your nail, and you are completely free to carry on. You will, however, miss out on some of the fight's rewards. They're not permanently missed, though, as you can come back and rematch him anytime. When you do come back, the reinforcement will be reinforced. Shut up. And can't be broken a second time. Another thing you can do is take advantage of the fact that this little alcove here is completely safe, and you can use it to heal if things get dicey. But come on, things aren't gonna get dicey. We're more than prepared. Let's do this. Now, he's not tremendously difficult, but he definitely has a lot of health and a huge hitbox. His massively telegraphed attacks are going to be the main thing that we can take advantage of here. But while we're talking about that, I want to draw attention to my health bar. Not the fact that it's really low, but the fact that it's all metal and shiny. And now it's super threatening because I have the charm, the Fury of the Fallen, which makes us so powerful. But more importantly, the metal shiny aspect indicates that I am playing this game in Steel Soul mode. Which means, when I die, it's game over. In attempting the feat, one proves their courage. May your shade at last find rest. And twisting of the knife, when you go up to start a new game, your file is still there, it's just shattered. There is absolutely nothing you can do other than clear the save. I'm sure if you manipulated the files, you could probably restore it, but nope, we are just defeated. So that does indeed mean nowhere to go but start from the beginning. Now, while I am working my way back to that point, I'm going to also load up a file in classic mode, just so that I can show off a few things, such as what the health bar usually looks like up there. It's very elegant, very nice. I like the steel one more, and I'll be honest, the fact that it looks cooler is a big contribution to playing that mode. And I can also show off what happens if, when we first stroll into Dirtmouth, what would happen if we ignore the well-meaning Elderbug? Oh. It's so sad. It's just like, oh. So we're going to ignore him for just a minute more. I can also show off what happens when we die in classic mode, because it does not result in an immediate game over. Instead, we see something emerged out of us. I like how it's telling me to interact with the bench because I skipped past it. While we're here, we can see some unique dialogue as a result of skipping Elderbug when we first came through. Oh, you're back. You walked straight past me and descended down into the ruins without even saying hello. I thought maybe I had seen a ghost. The mind sometimes plays tricks on you when you spend a lot of time alone. The other residents, they've all disappeared, headed down that well one by one, and from there it's all the same. It's interesting that he refers to us as a ghost, though. Some people think that has lore connotations. So now if we look up at our health bar, we can see that our soul meter has cracked but not shattered. This cracked soul meter will only hold 2/3 of our previous maximum, only enough for 2 focuses. And if we want to repair it, we're going to have to go and retrieve that shade that we dropped upon death. The shade also holds on to any money we were carrying. He's a fairly simple enemy. He'll do some slashes at us if we let him. It only takes 2 hits. When we retrieve him, our soul meter is repaired, and any money we were carrying when we died jumps right back into us. If, however, we die a second time before retrieving the shade from our first death, then only the last shade that we left can be retrieved. It will still fully repair our soul meter, but any money held by any previous shades that we dropped will be completely lost to the void. So be careful. Essentially, the shade functions as a way of securing your funds, giving you one shot to reclaim it. And if you don't get that shot, then you are out of luck, and all that money is down the drain. Now, I know what you're thinking. If Steel Soul Mold makes you instantly die, why are you still playing it? Well, the answer to that is really simple. I'm a masochist, obviously. No, more accurately, like I said, this is going to be a 100% all achievements run. And a big part of that is some achievements that are locked behind finishing Steel Soul mode. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're going to finish Steel Soul mode, despite the fact that every single death would mean that I have to reset from the beginning. I am fairly confident in my abilities, but if I die, you know, I die. We're just gonna play back through. Here on the second attempt file, fret not, I have completed everything that I did on the first one. I haven't missed pretty much anything that I missed the first time around, and I haven't gotten anything that I didn't get the first time around. Now let's finish off this False Knight. He stands as a good first major barrier to progress. We get the achievement Falsehood for defeating him. And the City Crest. We can bounce on his armor infinitely, which is always fun. Turns out he was just a maggot inside that giant shell. And if we wait just a minute, we'll see that his mace is actually a bug of its own. We can bully it a little bit, but it is completely indestructible. And we'll just do its best to wander away from us. Be free, little ladybug, super armor thing. Be free. That's the last we'll ever see that. If we hop up here, we get our massive trove of treasure. 200 geo. Very nice, very nice. And we can carry on. It's not the only reward we get. For all of that, though, we find ourselves surrounded by torches. We've been surrounded by lights made out of fireflies, captured in glass so far, so torches is an interesting change. Hello. Another friendly, one should hope. Oh ho, who is that creeping out of the darkness? My, you're looking grim, a strange empty face, and a wicked-looking weapon. Something important has drawn you down into Hollow Nest's corpse, but I won't ask what. Perhaps the reason you found me is because you need my help? Say no more, friend. I'm going to give you a gift, a nasty little spell of my own creation. It's just perfect for a little one like you. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Ooh. Don't be afraid. Have faith. That spell belongs to you now. All you need to do is take it. Oh, you won't be going much further without it, I promise you. Yeah, same thing again. Well, I see absolutely no strings attached here. Yes! Aww. Could have seen that coming. Consumed the vengeful spirit. Tap B to unleash the spirit. Spells deplete your soul. Replenish soul by striking enemies. So we have an aggressive alternative to healing focus now. Unfortunately, we seem a little trapped. Oh, you've woken at last. I apologize. Perhaps I should have warned you about this power of that spell. I was watching over you as you slept, but you seem to have slipped away myself. Oh. Now we're awake. I was wondering whether you could do me a small favor. Not as repayment for my gift, of course, simply because we're now friends. You see, a horrid great beast has made its home in the heart of this temple. Such disrespect! I would be grateful if you were to venture deeper in and slay it for me. It's a hardy creature, but with your new power, you're more than a match for it. Good luck with this small favor, my friend. Oh, yeah, what if I decline? What is it? Are you wondering about this gate between us? Oh, it's a curious thing. But this door will not open until you have slain that creature lying in the heart of the temple. Don't worry about it. I'm sure the spirits of my ancestors will be watching over you. Right. Well, you know what they say about friends. With friends like these, we now have Vengeful Spirit, a powerful sort of fireball spell. It is 3 times as powerful as a strike from our nail, which makes it a super formidable tool to have in our tool belt. However, it does require the same amount of soul as healing takes us. So a couple hits from enemies will do just that. All these little dudes can be beaten in a really cool way with these spikes overhead. We can actually knock them straight up into it. Well, that didn't work. But at least I didn't get hit. No worries there. Take him out, take him out. We've got a lot to wander around here in this little temple, but there's a few good things to be found here. Oops. That's fine. Worry not, fret not. If we head over this way, we'll find a soul replenishing spot here. All filled up. And we can continue onwards and take on more of these little roly-poly dudes. I can actually whack that guy through the wall, so I'm gonna... Hello, goodbye. Now, that whole detour that we just took was not required, but we can get some geo and a few of those blue masks for our trouble, which is a really nice thing for us here, since our soul is essentially split between healing and doing the thing we actually need to do. We find ourselves the enemy she was talking about. This is a Balder. He is completely invulnerable whenever we get close enough to strike him with our nail, so we need to stand at a distance and strike him with spells. 3 for a full volley is not enough. Luckily, he shoots out little ones, and a 4th one finishes the job. And that's going to be that there. If we head over here, we also get the Soul Catcher. Now that's a charm. Oh, so it's done then. You've slain the beast. The poor thing, it must have been terrified of you. It used to be quite docile, but the rancid air in these caverns filled it with some ancient rage. Still, you did what had to be done. You have my gratitude, of course. We both know you wouldn't have done it without that spell of mine. And look, the gate has opened. I'm sure you're eager to move on. Farewell and have faith, whatever you're seeking. It will find you. Yeah, right, Granny. If I never see you again, it's probably too soon. That's ungrateful of me. She did give us this powerful spell, and it is great to have. It is a super strong element of our moveset. And we are right back where we first found Cornifer. Sorry I missed you. If you're feeling lost, why not pop up to our store in Dirtmouth and purchase a map of this area. Available now for an excellent price. Well, yes. Already gotten it, Cornifer. Already gotten it. So now all that remains is very little. We have completely finished off the Forgotten Crossroads, at least as much of it as we can reasonably do right now without doing many skips. Or have we? You see, there's just one more thing that I personally want to do today. And in order to do it, we're going to have to hop over here, hop straight down here, and to this door, rather unassuming, right to the left here. And we find ourselves in a pit of spikes and razors. Lots more. Best part about these gatherflies is the fact that when enemies die and drop their geo in spikes, they have no problem retrieving it for us. So we've got a spot here that we can retrieve some soul, but here is something that may look completely impossible to those who have not yet mastered the art of the nail pogo. Hop on up and find ourselves in an area that, ouch, by all accounts, many would agree we're not supposed to be here yet. but sequence breaking. So here, the game is going to teach us a really nice aspect of the right analog stick. We can't turn the camera since the game isn't 3D, but by holding up or down with it, we can look and see where platforms that might be out of sight can take us. Very helpful in an area like this, surrounded by spikes. Ooh. Now, I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous about what's to come right here. So we're going to head over here and stall a little bit while we get some secret stuff. What is in store for me up here? Alright, we got a platform we can break. Kind of linking us back, but not super well. We can't get back up that way. And then we've got a huge soul relic right here. But we were already full. I just grabbed it because it looks so freaking cool. All the stuff that dusts around and goes... Sorry. I don't have to be sorry. I'm excited. Dang it. I love this game. Now, head on over here, and we see a bunch of corpses of some sort of weird bug. And one not so dead. The Brooding Moloch. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the False Night bio ended up being like twice as long as I intended it to be, so I'm gonna try and keep this one pretty streamlined. Luckily, the Moloch is pretty straightforward. Almost no new or super unique mechanics to explain here. The only thing I'll preface with is that this boss assumes you either have the majority of the game's movement abilities or a mastery of the nail pogo. Having both would be ideal, but I'm gonna have to rely on the pogo. So let's delve in. Moloch has 3 attacks up its sleeves: the swats and splats, the double slam, and the splat volley. The first one is a little interesting. As long as you keep your distance, this attack will only take the form of these projectiles, 3 or 4 launched into the air semi-randomly towards the knight. I'll go ahead and say up front that the nature of this attack makes nail pogoing a bad idea in the majority of this fight. That covers the splats. What about those swats? This is an interesting case of a boss's behavior reacting directly to the actions of a player. During this attack, and this attack only, the Moloch will swipe at you with its talons only when the knight is close enough. The fact that this is basically 2 attacks happening at once from different angles can certainly make things difficult. But the fact that the talon swipes are completely within your control essentially makes up for that. That, and the orange globs are so small that you'll dodge most of them by accident. My recommendation is to simply get in, land 1 attack, and retreat. Don't get greedy trying to wail on him, or his talons will make short work of you. There are other options, however. One option is to play it overly safe. Just focus on dodging the splats, and don't worry about getting the damage in while Moloch does this attack. Wait for opportunities elsewhere. Be prepared for a long fight if you take this approach, though. The splats and swats are essentially Moloch's default state, so you'll be seeing this attack much more than the other 2. Your other option is one I'm only mentioning because it's possible, not because it's reasonable. It's time to talk about Hollow Knight's parrying mechanic. When fighting against any opponent that wields a blade, there is an extremely tight window during their slash attacks where you can strike their blade with your nail, and in doing so, reduce their hitbox. Not remove the hitbox, but definitely make it smaller. The Moloch's talons count as blades for the purposes of the parry, and with proper timing, you can be a little more aggressive by using parries to keep from having to retreat from every single swipe. I don't recommend this at all, but I did want to bring attention to it. Who knows, it might get you out of a tight spot. His second attack is the double slam. This one's as simple as can be. He'll perform 2 jumps in a row, the first one targeting the knight's position from when the attack began, and the second returning him to the center of the arena. This is normally where I'd say that it's tempting to dodge away from the center of the screen, but you should really dodge underneath the attack, but not this time. Since he immediately retreats back to his perch, dodging left or right is about equally safe. This attack is also your best opportunity to heal. The time it takes for him to make his second jump and start the next attack is more than enough time for you to restore a mask, or even 2. While we're on the subject, do not try and heal during the swats and splats. It may seem like you have a safe window, but trust me, you'll probably just end up losing more masks than you restore. Now on to his final attack, the splat volley. This one is what really makes this fight difficult for newer players. After winding up for a moment, the Moloch will launch a blanket of orange blobs in the direction the knight was in when the windup began. These blobs are more than capable of covering the entire distance between the Moloch and the wall. It is just the least bit random though. Occasionally, it'll leave gaps that can be slipped through, or firing at a sharp enough angle that the outside edge is just barely safe. Do not rely on this. The only reliable way to dodge this attack is to get to the other side of the Moloch. It's a little precise, but the monster is actually small enough that he can be cleared in a single jump. But this is definitely the nail pogo's time to shine. Simply bounce across his mouth to safety and you'll be completely fine. The cooldown on this attack is also pretty significant, so you'll want to take advantage of that and get in some extra hits. And that's just about gonna do it. Since the Moloch is almost constantly using one of these attacks and all three of them require different means of evasion, I don't really have a recommendation for resetting to neutral here. I think the most important advice I can offer is to know when to heal. I can practically guarantee that you're going to take a lot of damage on your first few attempts. But be frugal with your soul and heal only during the double slam. My last tip is to once again stay out of the corners. You want to give yourself as much time as possible to react to his splat volley attack. And if you're as far away from him as possible, you might not be able to clear the gap before the splats land. Now we've got a mighty foe before us. Let's take it down. The Brooding Moloch is the first boss that I would consider optional. Technically, the first optional boss was actually the Gruz Mother, and if you want to be super specific about it, the False Knight is also optional as well. But this one is one that's completely out of our way and locks behind it very little of actual relevance to our adventure right now. And it is way harder by the standards of anything that we've fought so far. These little swipey claw things that it does, that's our best opportunity to heal right there. Alright, so we have just about got this. It's not super tough, but it's by far tougher than either of the other bosses we've beaten so far. Okay, we're good. Take him down. I suppose I could heal off the last... Oh man, he keeps frame trapping me with that. Oh no, don't do it, don't do it. Okay. Man, this boss takes way more concentration than I thought it did. Okay, we're good. We got this. He's gonna stay on his platform and he's gonna shoot at us, and I'm just gonna jump right into his goopy goo. And done. Whew. He has ended plenty of runs where I got a little cocky. So it is very relieving to have finished that one without too much trouble. We get our first mask shard there. Pretty much exactly the same as a piece of heart from Zelda. Is 1/4 of a health upgrade. We'll be getting plenty more of where those came from. Fret not. But that is going to do it here for this episode. We got a lot done, completely cleaned out the forgotten crossroads of all the stuff we needed to do right now. In the next episode, we're going to adventure onwards towards a path so far untread by us. In the meantime, if you liked this video, I really appreciate it, but if you want to press that like button, well, I will end your Steel Soul run and make you replay your entire life up to this point, and you know that'll take a long time. See you guys next time.